Hello friends. What do you get when you mix the intuitive, emotional depth of Cancer with the tireless perseverance and grounded nature of the Ox? You get someone quietly powerful, deeply loyal, and utterly unforgettable. Welcome to the fascinating world of those born under the Zodiac sign Cancer in the Chinese Year of the Ox, a rare cosmic blend of heart and grit. This character study will explore the depths of their soul, how they love, who they trust, what drives them, and what shadows they wrestle with. Whether you're one of them or just know someone who is, this might just change the way you see them forever. Love. For a Cancer Ox, love isn't a fling. It's a fortress. It's not impulsive or dramatic, and it doesn't spark from just a glance or a charming line. Love, to them, is a serious, soulful commitment. It must be earned, maintained, and protected. Cancer Ox individuals don't seek thrill-seeking romances or whirlwind affairs. They look for something that feels like home. Their love is rooted in emotional security, mutual respect, and long-term compatibility. They'll wait as long as it takes to find the real thing, because settling for a connection without emotional depth is simply not in their nature. They want love that wraps around them like a blanket on a cold night, warm, dependable, and irreplaceable. They don't just fall in love, they build it, slowly, intentionally, and with devotion that rivals ancient romance novels. Everything they do in love is deliberate. They won't rush into declarations or grand gestures until they're absolutely sure. But once they commit, they're all in. They craft love brick by brick, cooking your favorite meals, leaving handwritten notes, quietly adjusting their schedule to make your life easier. Their affection isn't loud, but it's profound. A Cancer Ox partner will hold on to the details of your soul, the way you twirl your hair when you're thinking, the stories you've told them only once, the music you listen to when you're sad. They love with attention, and their attention is relentless. Picture someone who'll remember your favorite childhood memory, your coffee order, and the time you said you hate Wednesdays, and then do something thoughtful every Wednesday just to make it better. That's a Cancer Ox in love. Their love language is thoughtful action. While they may not always be the most verbally expressive, their gestures carry the weight of 1,000 words. Whether it's preparing your morning coffee exactly the way you like it or silently sitting next to you during your worst days, they communicate their love through presence and reliability. They listen with their whole soul and respond in quiet but deeply meaningful ways. You'll never have to guess whether a Cancer Ox loves you, you'll feel it in everything they do. But here's the catch, they're guarded. The Cancer side is deeply emotional, vulnerable, and intuitive, but that sensitivity also makes them cautious. They don't wear their heart on their sleeve, they wrap it in layers of careful observation. The Ox brings in a strong protective instinct, one that only allows entry to people who've proven their loyalty. This combination creates someone who watches from a distance at first, gauging your character, studying your values. They may seem shy or emotionally distant in the beginning, but it's only because they're building trust. Every wall they put up is protecting something incredibly precious underneath, their ability to love with absolute sincerity. The Cancer side is sensitive and easily wounded, while the Ox is slow to trust. Together, this makes them incredibly self-protective in the early stages of love. Emotional intimacy is terrifying for them unless the foundation feels completely safe. They fear betrayal not because they expect it, but because when it happens, it cuts deep, far deeper than most. Even subtle dismissals or broken promises can leave them spiraling internally. Trust is everything to them. And once that trust is violated, the pain lingers. That's why they choose their partners so carefully. They're not looking for someone exciting, they're looking for someone solid. This means they'll often observe quietly before opening their heart. You may not even realize they're falling for you at first. They'll ask subtle questions, remember little things, and offer practical support long before saying the words, "I love you." To a Cancer Ox, love is earned through consistency. They'll want to see how you handle conflict, how you treat others, how dependable your character is. Only then will they begin to reveal their softer, more affectionate side. But once they do, once they let you in, you'll experience a kind of devotion that's both comforting and intense, a love that holds you through your darkness and celebrates you in your light. Once they do, it's game over. Their loyalty becomes bulletproof. When a Cancer ox loves you, it's for keeps. They invest their whole heart, their whole future, and their quiet dreams into you. They'll defend you, nurture you, and stand by you even when things get hard. They see love as a partnership, not a performance. And once bonded, they will resist any temptation or distraction. You'll never feel like an afterthought with them. You'll feel chosen. They'll go out of their way to protect the relationship, from external problems, from their own fears, even from your self-doubt. Their love is patient, protective, and unwavering. Cheating or betrayal? Unforgivable. It's not about pride, it's about pain. Because they open themselves so completely, any form of dishonesty feels like a personal devastation. They might forgive smaller missteps over time, but true betrayal, infidelity, lying, emotional manipulation, breaks them. And once broken, their trust rarely recovers. The ox holds onto principle, and the Cancer never forgets how it felt. If you cheat a Cancer ox, you won't face a dramatic explosion, you'll face silence. Absence, a sudden and complete emotional withdrawal. They don't fight to keep someone who's already left them in spirit. They'll just close the door, permanently. They're not just hurt, they're wounded to the core. This is a kind of emotional pain that lingers for years. Even if they move on, the memory of betrayal stays with them like a scar under the skin. It makes them even more cautious, more slow to trust in the future. They may become emotionally reserved, self-protective, and hesitant to open up again. But here's the thing, they still believe in love. They just believe it must be guarded, earned, treated with reverence. The next person they let in will have to be someone who understands the value of their heart, and doesn't play games with it. Romantic compatibility is strongest with signs that are emotionally intelligent and respectful of boundaries. Think Pisces, Taurus, Virgo, or even Scorpio. These signs tend to understand the emotional depth of Cancer and appreciate the loyalty and work ethic of the ox. Pisces brings empathy, Taurus brings consistency, Virgo brings grounded practicality, and Scorpio brings intensity that matches the Cancer ox's depth. But anyone, regardless of sign, who is patient, sincere, and committed to honest communication can earn their love. What matters most is integrity. Cancer ox individuals don't care if you're perfect, they care if you're real. But be warned, don't mistake their calm for weakness. They don't lash out, but they do retreat, and once they shut the emotional door, it rarely opens again. This isn't out of cruelty, it's self-preservation. Once they decide a connection is no longer safe or nourishing, they'll quietly begin the process of emotional detachment. You might not even notice it at first. They'll smile, go through the motions, keep things polite. But behind the scenes, the walls are going back up, the trust is gone, and the love is being packed away piece by piece. When they leave emotionally, they rarely come back, because they know how much it cost them to love you in the first place. In the end, loving a Cancer ox is not for the faint of heart. It requires patience, emotional maturity, and a willingness to commit fully. But if you can meet them in that space, with truth, loyalty, and gentleness, you'll have something most people spend a lifetime searching for. A love that's not only real, but unforgettable. Marriage. Marriage to a Cancer ox is a sacred pact. To them, it isn't just a contract or a social milestone, it's a profound emotional and spiritual union. When they marry, they're not just choosing a partner, they're choosing a lifelong teammate, a co-architect of their future, and someone to whom they will give their entire heart. The Cancer influence makes them sentimental and emotionally devoted, while the ox brings discipline, structure, and long-term vision. That combination means they see marriage as a commitment that must be honored, cultivated, and fiercely protected, not just for a season, but for life. Divorce is not something they even entertain unless absolutely necessary, because for a Cancer ox, breaking that sacred bond feels like a personal failure of the highest order. They don't take vows lightly. If they say, "I do," they mean, forever, and they're willing to work for it. These aren't partners who walk away when the spark fades or when life gets messy. They understand, more than most, that marriage is a long game, one that requires constant effort, empathy, and mutual respect. They won't promise you everything will be easy, but they will promise to stay, to try, to rebuild after every hard season. And they'll expect the same in return. Loyalty is the air they breathe. They don't just want to be loved, they want to be counted on. They'll wake up every day with a mindset of, how do I protect what we're building, and they expect their partner to do the same. They approach marriage like a life project, a home to nurture, memories to build, traditions to uphold. You won't find a Cancer ox letting the relationship drift into autopilot. They take pride in the little rituals, Sunday breakfasts, holiday decorations, anniversary traditions. They want their home to feel safe, stable, and warm, like an emotional anchor for both of you. Cancer provides the emotional intelligence to create deep connection, while the ox brings the diligence to follow through on every shared goal, from buying a house to raising children. Their vision of marriage includes quiet mornings, shared responsibilities, and building a life full of meaning, one conversation, one routine, one memory at a time. They'll be the ones organizing family holidays, planning anniversary surprises, and budgeting for your dream vacation 10 years from now. While they may not always be the most outwardly romantic, don't expect constant roses or public declarations. They express love in practical, thoughtful ways. They remember your parents' birthdays. They file away ideas for your retirement plans. They make sure there's always your favorite snack in the pantry. Their gestures may be small, but they are deeply intentional. They love in a way that shows up, stays late, and anticipates your needs before you even voice them. With a Cancer ox spouse, your life becomes a shared blueprint, and they're constantly revising it to make it better for both of you. They're practical providers, not flashy, but consistent. Think home-cooked meals, cozy routines, early savings plans for the kids' college fund. They may never impress you with designer gifts or spontaneous flights to Paris, but they'll surprise you with a well-stocked freezer when you're sick, or by fixing the leaky faucet before you even notice it. Their love language is care, and they show it through responsibility. If they say they'll take care of you, they mean it, financially, emotionally, and physically. They won't splurge on things they can't afford, but they'll make sure you always have what you need. Security is love to them. They want their spouse to feel it in every corner of the home they're building together. And yes, sometimes they might feel a little too serious. Spontaneity isn't always their strength. Cancer ox individuals often carry a deep sense of duty, which can make them feel heavy or overly focused on doing the right thing. That doesn't mean they're cold or boring, just that they tend to prioritize stability over adventure. Their idea of a romantic evening might be folding laundry together while watching your favorite movie, not because they lack imagination, but because they genuinely enjoy creating comfort. To some, this might feel predictable, but to others, especially those who've craved emotional safety, it feels like peace. But what they lack in wild romance, they make up for in depth and dependability. You'll never have to question their motives. You'll never feel like they're playing emotional games. They are as they appear, steadfast, thoughtful, and deeply committed. When they say, "I love you," they're also saying, "I'll show up for you. I'll stay through the hard parts. I'm building this life with you, not just living in it." Their love might not sweep you off your feet every single day, but it will hold you up every time life tries to knock you down. In an age of fast feelings and short attention spans, their quiet consistency is rare and invaluable. A potential downside? Stubbornness. The ox influence makes them inflexible in arguments. Combine that with Cancer's tendency to hold grudges and you've got a recipe for long, silent standoffs. They're not quick to yell or storm out. Instead, they withdraw into themselves, brooding and emotionally distant. And because they invest so much into the relationship, they take disagreements very personally. They often struggle with being wrong, not out of pride, but because being misunderstood feels deeply painful. When hurt, they may go silent instead of speaking up, or replay the conflict over and over in their head for days. They don't forget, and they rarely forgive quickly. Resentment can build silently if not addressed early. The solution? Open communication, patience, and the occasional reminder that love isn't about being right, it's about being together. Cancer ox partners need a safe space to express their feelings without judgment. They need to be gently encouraged to let go of perfectionism, to forgive more freely, and to understand that vulnerability isn't weakness, it's the heart of connection. The healthiest marriages for them involve partners who are emotionally intelligent and compassionate, but also strong enough to stand their ground with kindness. When both partners are committed to growth, the Cancer ox becomes an extraordinary spouse, one who doesn't just promise forever, but proves it every single day. Sex. In the bedroom, Cancer ox individuals are like a locked treasure chest, once opened, full of sensuality and warmth. On the surface, they might appear reserved, even modest. They don't radiate overt sexuality or chase attention with flashy flirtation. But behind their calm demeanor lies a rich, deeply sensual world that only reveals itself in the right emotional environment. They're not performative or driven by ego. Instead, their intimacy is layered, intimate, and surprisingly powerful, a private language shared only with the person who has earned their trust. Once they feel emotionally secure, they become generous, attentive, and fully invested lovers, often surprising even the boldest of partners with the depth of their passion. They might not come across as the most overtly seductive type at first glance, but intimacy is where they shine, once trust is established. They don't do sparks at first sight. They do slow burns that become impossible to put out. The Cancer side of them craves emotional bonding. The ox needs to feel safe and respected. This means they are not the type to rush into sex, and even when desire is present, they'll wait until the emotional groundwork has been laid. But once that threshold is crossed, they commit to the experience completely. They're not distracted or selfish lovers, they're fully present, with an uncanny ability to tune into their partner's energy, needs, and rhythm. The Cancer side brings in a need for emotional connection, while the ox offers endurance and loyalty. This combination creates a lover who isn't just passionate, but also consistent and emotionally aware. They don't just want to please, they want to connect, to understand what truly makes you feel wanted, desired, and safe. Their love life isn't about novelty or conquest, it's about creating sacred space between two people. They view physical intimacy as an extension of emotional trust, and because of that, they pour themselves into every touch, every glance, every unspoken message. With them, sex is never mechanical, it's deeply meaningful and always purposeful. So yes, they're passionate lovers. But they're also selective. They don't give themselves easily, and they certainly don't engage out of boredom or convenience. Their standards are high, not in appearance or status but in energy. They can sense when someone's intentions aren't pure, and they'll instinctively pull back. A casual hookup means very little to them, and if they engage in one, it's likely followed by emotional discomfort or withdrawal. They're just not built for separation between body and soul. That said, when they find someone who understands this, someone who values connection as much as they do, their loyalty in bed is unmatched. They give, explore, and devote themselves without reservation. They dislike casual encounters and one-night stands. Physical connection without emotional depth feels meaningless. It's not about being prudish or judgmental, it's about integrity. Sex, to a Cancer ox, is sacred. It has emotional consequences. That's why they need to feel emotionally held before they can physically surrender. When intimacy happens without that connection, they can feel used or emotionally unsafe, even if the experience was technically good. For this reason, they may have fewer partners than others over the course of their lives, but their sexual relationships tend to be deeper, more meaningful, and longer lasting. They value depth over variety, trust over chemistry alone. But in a secure relationship, they're surprisingly open, intuitive, and generous lovers. They remember what you like. They pay attention to the way your body reacts, to the emotional tone in the room, to the small signals that others might overlook. They take mental notes, not out of obligation, but out of devotion. Making you feel desired, safe, and seen is part of how they express love. They are naturally giving, and their pleasure is often rooted in your pleasure. What excites them is not just the act itself, but the deep, wordless communication that happens when two people fully trust one another. That's when their sensual nature blooms into something unforgettable. They want to make you feel safe. They know that the best intimacy starts with trust, and they take their time to build it. They aren't interested in transactional or ego-driven encounters. They want to know that you feel emotionally safe, physically respected, and completely seen. They create space for open communication about desires, boundaries, and needs. With them, you'll never feel rushed or judged. They understand that good sex is about emotional safety as much as physical chemistry. That's why, with a Cancer ox, every encounter feels layered, not just physically satisfying but emotionally nourishing, like your soul was acknowledged, not just your body. Their sensuality is earthy and affectionate, less about wild experiments, more about emotional bonding. They are naturally tactile, drawn to long embraces, deep eye contact, and quiet moments that say everything without a word. They're lovers of atmosphere, soft lighting, warmth, comfort. To them, sensuality is an experience that begins long before the bedroom and lingers afterward. It's the way you laugh together over dinner, the way they tuck a blanket around you, the shared silence before sleep. These aren't people who see sex as separate from life, they see it as the emotional heartbeat of their bond. Their touch is always thoughtful, always meaningful. However, with the right partner, they can be adventurous. All you need to do is make them feel truly seen. When they feel cherished, loved, and emotionally anchored, their sensuality expands. They become surprisingly open to exploration, not because they're naturally experimental, but because they trust you enough to let go. They'll try new things not to impress or perform, but to deepen the connection. With a Cancer ox, adventure is a shared language, a mutual unfolding. And in that space of trust, vulnerability, and shared pleasure, their true erotic power is revealed. They may be slow to open, but once they do, they give you everything: heart, body, soul. Friendship. A Cancer ox friend is the ride or die you didn't know you needed. They're not loud about their loyalty, and they won't post long captions about you on social media every birthday, but they will be the ones who actually show up, when it matters, when it's hard, when no one else does. Their friendship isn't flashy, it's deep, grounding, and life-giving. They're the kind of person who will quietly carry your emotional baggage without complaint, who remembers the painful things you never thought anyone heard, and who creates a space where your soul can exhale. They are the friend you can call at 2 a.m., not because you want to, but because you can, and you know they'll answer. They might not have a million friends, but the few they do have, they treasure. Cancer ox individuals are highly selective when it comes to their inner circle. They don't chase popularity or collect acquaintances for ego. They seek resonance, people whose energy aligns with their values, who offer emotional depth, and who aren't afraid of vulnerability. To them, friendship is not about quantity, but quality. They'd rather have 2 or 3 real, soul-level friendships than 100 surface-level connections. And once you're in that circle, they treat you like chosen family, fiercely protective, endlessly supportive, and deeply loyal in a way most people only dream of experiencing. These are the people who check in on you months after a breakup, remember your mom's surgery date, and show up with soup when you're sick. Their memory for personal details is uncanny, and they don't just remember, they act. If you mentioned once that you get anxious before job interviews, expect a good luck text the morning of. If your birthday is a rough day for personal reasons, they'll plan something quiet and thoughtful just for you. Their care is not about grand gestures, but about consistency and presence. They may not always say the right thing, but they will be there, and that, in their view, is what real friendship looks like. They value loyalty, depth, and honesty. Small talk bores them. Fake people exhaust them. A Cancer ox will sit through a silence that lasts hours if it means being there for you, but they won't waste a second listening to gossip or shallow conversations. They crave connection with substance. They want to know how you're really doing, beneath the surface, and they want you to be brave enough to tell them. In return, they'll be honest with you, too, even if it's uncomfortable. They don't sugarcoat truths, but they offer them with compassion. They see truth as a form of love, a way to keep the bond clean, grounded, and unshakable. And if you betray their trust, good luck getting it back. Forgiveness doesn't come easily. It's not that they're vindictive, it's that they're deeply protective of their heart. Cancer energy feels betrayal on a cellular level, and the ox doesn't forget easily. If you lie, manipulate, or show disloyalty, they may withdraw completely, not with drama, but with finality. They may continue to be polite, even friendly, but the trust? It's gone. And for them, without trust, friendship is impossible. They are not interested in half-hearted apologies or empty words. They need time, sincerity, and action to even consider repairing a broken bond, and even then, it's rare. Cancer ox folks are also excellent listeners. They won't interrupt you or steal your spotlight. They'll just quietly absorb everything, offer thoughtful advice, and hold space for your feelings. Being with them feels like stepping into emotional stillness, where nothing has to be fixed, just understood. They don't need to solve your problems. They know sometimes, just being there is the greatest gift. Their listening isn't passive, it's engaged. They remember what you said last month. They connect the dots between your patterns. And when they do speak, it's usually something deeply insightful or perfectly timed. Their presence in your life can feel almost therapeutic, even healing. They make great friends for introverts, empaths, artists, and those who crave genuine connection. They don't demand energy or attention, they offer safety. If you need space, they understand. If you want to talk for hours about the meaning of life, they're in. Their loyalty to your well-being is not tied to how often you see each other or how many texts you send, it's rooted in the depth of your bond. They'll remember your childhood dreams, support your art, stand up for you when you're too tired to stand for yourself. They are, in many ways, the ideal emotional companion, steady, kind, and full of quiet magic. But beware, they do have a dark side, and that shows up in friendship too. When hurt, they withdraw. They won't always explain what's wrong, expecting you to just know. They can be passive-aggressive, giving you the cold shoulder while insisting everything is fine. Their Cancer sensitivity can turn into silent resentment, while the ox's rigidity refuses to talk it out. They may hold on to perceived slights for a long time, replaying them until their heart is heavy with assumptions. If they feel underappreciated or taken for granted, they might disappear, not dramatically, but slowly, emotionally fading out of your life like fog lifting from a field. And once they go, they rarely come back, not because they don't care, but because they cared too much, and protecting their heart became the only choice left. Still, if you value depth, loyalty, and real connection, the Cancer ox is one of the best friends you'll ever have. They won't ask for much, but they'll give everything. Just don't take them for granted, because their presence, once gone, will leave a silence no one else can quite fill. Business. Ever met someone who can lead without shouting, organize without chaos, and build without burning out? That's a Cancer ox at work. In the business world, they're the calm in the storm, the steady strategist behind the scenes, and the person everyone turns to when the pressure is high and mistakes aren't an option. They don't dominate meetings with flashy speeches or demand attention with ego-fueled declarations. Instead, they quietly take control with competence, patience, and emotional intelligence. Others may scramble for the spotlight, but Cancer ox professionals are too busy doing the work, and doing it well. Their leadership style is grounded, not performative. It's focused on impact, not applause. Their work ethic is unmatched. The ox brings consistency, patience, and a long-term mindset, while Cancer adds creativity and intuition. This combination makes for someone who not only shows up early and stays late, but who also feels their way through complex challenges with an uncanny sense of timing and empathy. They don't just manage tasks, they manage emotions, energy, and relationships within the workspace. They can sense when a team is burning out, when a strategy is misaligned with values, or when a quiet colleague has a brilliant idea no one's listening to. Their loyalty to their work runs deep, and they see their role, no matter how big or small, as part of something meaningful and lasting. They're not the ones making loud PowerPoints in the boardroom, but they're the ones who've actually read the spreadsheet and quietly solved the problem before anyone noticed it existed. Cancer ox individuals thrive in roles that reward detail, intuition, and follow through. They're not interested in showing off or climbing the ladder for ego. They climb it when it makes sense, when it serves the mission, or when it means they can support more people. They'll be the ones catching accounting errors before they snowball, refining workflows no one realized were inefficient, or mentoring new hires in ways that permanently shape company culture. They're the backbone of successful businesses, the unsung heroes behind stable growth. They're brilliant in careers that require emotional intelligence plus practicality. Think healthcare, finance, education, therapy, hospitality, architecture, and even entrepreneurship. Any industry that requires a blend of compassion, structure, and long-term strategy is a natural fit for them. In healthcare, they're the ones who listen to patients and follow protocol. In finance, they're meticulous yet ethical. In education, they see each student as a unique story. In architecture, they balance form and function. And in entrepreneurship, they may not launch fast, but when they do, their business is built on a rock-solid foundation. They don't seek attention, but they earn respect in every professional circle they enter. They can handle risk, but only calculated risk. They're not gamblers. They prefer to build slowly, but surely. Think of them like oak trees. It takes time for them to grow, but once they do, they're solid, dependable, and nearly impossible to uproot. They believe in strategy, in preparation, in learning the rules before trying to bend them. While others chase overnight success, they're laying brick after brick for a structure that will stand 10, 20, even 50 years. This makes them ideal for long-term projects, legacy-focused careers, and financial roles where consistency and foresight are key. When a Cancer ox bets on something, or someone, it's because they've done their homework and believe in the vision. In business partnerships, they work best with visionary types who respect their methods. The ideal partner for a Cancer ox is someone who brings innovation, excitement, or bold ideas, but who also values patience, structure, and emotional clarity. They thrive when paired with dreamers, provided those dreamers give them space to work methodically. When you trust them with the execution, you'll see their brilliance unfold. They'll take your abstract idea and turn it into a blueprint. They'll handle the logistics, the follow-through, the people management, the budget. But if their methods are questioned constantly or rushed unfairly, they may withdraw or become rigid. Respect is everything to them. Give them a clear mission, trust their process, and they'll deliver, every time. Cancer ox individuals aren't looking to cut corners. They want to do it right, and they want their work to mean something. They're driven by internal standards, not external validation. If they commit to a goal, they'll stay up late, refine it endlessly, and bring others along with them, not because they're trying to impress, but because they take pride in delivering excellence. They believe in integrity and consistency, and their reputation is often one of the most important things to them. Their word is their bond. You don't have to micromanage a Cancer ox, you just have to trust them, and they'll exceed your expectations without ever needing to say, "I told you so." Dark sides. Now let's talk shadows, because yes, even the softest heart can cast the darkest shade. For all the warmth, dedication, and quiet strength the Cancer ox brings to the world, there's another side to them that's just as intense but often hidden. Their shadow isn't malicious, it's protective. But when left unchecked, it can damage their relationships, isolate them from support, and trap them inside cycles of guilt, frustration, and emotional paralysis. The Cancer ox doesn't seek to hurt others, but in trying to avoid pain, they often create distance and confusion instead. Their darkness is not loud or explosive, it's slow, internal, and rooted in fear. Emotional suppression. They feel everything, but often hide it. Cancer is one of the most emotionally sensitive signs of the zodiac, while the ox is known for its stoicism and restraint. Together, this creates a person who feels deeply but rarely expresses it openly. They bottle things up. They tell themselves they're fine. They focus on taking care of others, believing their own needs are a burden. Over time, those unspoken feelings pile up: grief, frustration, disappointment, loneliness, until one day, they overflow. Sometimes it's an outburst over something minor. Other times, it's a quiet withdrawal that no one understands. They don't mean to be dramatic. They just haven't learned how to process pain without burying it first. Stubbornness. Ox energy resists change, while Cancer clings to the past. Together, you get someone who holds on too long, to jobs, relationships, even grudges. They'll stay in an unhappy marriage because they can't bear the thought of breaking something they once valued. They'll keep working in a toxic job because they promised themselves they wouldn't quit. They'll replay old arguments in their head for years, unable to forgive a betrayal that everyone else moved past. Their loyalty becomes a prison. They are so afraid of making the wrong choice or letting go of something safe that they sometimes sabotage their own growth. Even when life offers them a door to freedom, they might hesitate at the threshold. Control issues. They want everything just so. And when it's not, anxiety kicks in. It's not about being bossy. It's about fear of chaos. Cancer Ox individuals crave emotional security above all else, and one of the ways they try to achieve it is by keeping their world tightly organized and predictable. This can lead them to micromanage situations, overplan every detail, or get frustrated when people don't follow the way things should be. They may come across as rigid or controlling, but at the root of it is fear. Fear that if they don't manage everything perfectly, everything will fall apart. Ironically, this need for control often creates the very tension they're trying to avoid. Passive aggression. Rather than confront someone directly, they might go quiet or use subtle guilt. Not to manipulate, but to protect themselves from emotional confrontation. Direct conflict is terrifying for the Cancer Ox. They hate hurting people, and they hate being hurt even more. So instead of saying, "I'm upset," they say, "I'm fine," in a tone that clearly means they're not. Instead of explaining what's wrong, they'll distance themselves and hope you figure it out. This behavior isn't malicious, it's defensive, but it can be confusing and frustrating for those close to them. Loved ones may feel like they're being punished without knowing why, and if this pattern continues, it can erode even the most stable relationships. They can be emotionally rigid, holding others to unrealistic standards without realizing it. Their high expectations for themselves often spill over onto those they care about, especially in moments of stress. If someone lets them down, even unintentionally, they may take it personally, assuming it reflects a deeper rejection. They rarely offer immediate forgiveness, not because they're cruel, but because they process things slowly and privately. They need time to reflect, to soothe their wounded pride, and to decide whether they still feel safe. In the meantime, their silence can feel like punishment, even if that's not their intent. The people around them may walk on eggshells, unsure of when the storm will pass. Their tendency to isolate can become self-destructive. When overwhelmed or emotionally drained, the Cancer Ox will often retreat, physically, emotionally, socially. They may stop answering texts, cancel plans, or bury themselves in work. They believe solitude will help them heal, but often it just deepens their sense of loneliness. They crave connection, yet their instinct is to disappear. This isolation can become a feedback loop. The more they pull away, the more unseen they feel, and the harder it becomes to return. Eventually, loved ones may feel pushed out or abandoned, even if the Cancer Ox is silently screaming for someone to reach in and pull them back. To evolve, Cancer Ox individuals need to learn to let go of control of the past, of the idea that vulnerability equals weakness. They thrive when they allow themselves to express emotions without fear of judgment. This means unlearning the habit of emotional self-censorship. It means saying, "I need help," before they burn out. It means allowing conflict to happen, trusting that real love can survive disagreement. It means forgiving others, and themselves, when expectations aren't met. When they release their grip on perfection and allow their softer side to be seen, they don't become weaker. They become freer, and in that freedom, all their strength, wisdom, and compassion can finally shine without distortion. The dark side of a Cancer Ox isn't about evil or malice. It's about pain, protection, and old emotional armor that no longer fits. But when they commit to healing, to growing, and to trusting the people who've earned their loyalty, that armor begins to fall away. What's left is someone with incredible depth, immense capacity for love, and the wisdom to turn their shadows into light, not just for themselves, but for everyone lucky enough to know them. Life purpose. So what are they really here for? What lies beneath the steady exterior, the emotional depth, the work ethic, and the quiet loyalty of a Cancer ox? The answer is both profound and beautifully simple. They're here to create meaningful impact, not through spectacle, but through substance. They aren't chasing fame, fortune, or glory. They're not here to impress, they're here to build. Whether it's a family, a company, a relationship, or a mission, Cancer ox individuals are natural architects of belonging. Their life purpose revolves around legacy, not necessarily the kind written in history books, but the kind that lives in people's hearts long after they're gone. Cancer ox people are builders, of homes, of families, of legacies. They don't just want to live, they want to create a life that matters. A Cancer ox will pour themselves into every room they inhabit, emotionally, spiritually, even physically. You'll feel it in the cozy home they've designed with care, in the child they've raised with empathy, in the community initiative they've supported quietly for years. They are not splashy about their impact, but it runs deep. They know that small actions, done consistently and with heart, are what change lives. They don't just build for now, they build for the next generation, for the people they'll never meet but deeply care about. Their soul craves purposeful connection. Not just relationships, but intentional ones. They are allergic to superficial interactions and feel depleted by environments where depth is missing. At their core, they believe people are meant to belong, and they take it upon themselves to create that sense of safety and warmth. Whether it's in a marriage, a workplace, a friend group, or even a neighborhood, they instinctively take on the role of the emotional cornerstone, the one who listens, organizes, protects, and sustains. This is not a duty for them, it's a calling. When they feel truly connected to others, they light up from the inside out. Without connection, they wither. They want to feel useful, not in the sense of being busy, but in the deeper sense of contributing to something greater than themselves. Cancer ox individuals need to know that what they're doing matters, that their efforts are helping, healing, supporting, strengthening. They may not always need recognition, but they do need meaning. When they feel like their actions are purposeful, whether it's caring for an aging parent, building a business that reflects their values, or supporting a cause that uplifts their community, they experience fulfillment. They're not driven by ambition for its own sake, but by the desire to be of service in a way that leaves real impact. To leave something better than they found it. This is one of the deepest emotional truths of the Cancer ox soul. They don't just want to survive life. They want to shape it, nurture it, repair what's broken, and preserve what's sacred. Whether it's improving a struggling workplace culture, mending family wounds, or advocating for ethical reform, they approach every corner of their world with the question, how can I leave this softer, stronger, safer than it was before I came? Their sense of responsibility is enormous, not just to people, but to ideas, traditions, and values they hold dear. And once they commit, they stay the course, no matter how long it takes. To make their corner of the world safer, warmer, more grounded. Cancer ox individuals are emotional guardians. They don't seek chaos, they seek peace. Not the kind that comes from silence, but the kind that comes from trust, security, and real emotional safety. They often take on the emotional labor of others, providing stability in families, teams, and relationships. Their purpose isn't to lead with dominance, but to lead with steadiness. They offer grounding, a soft place to land, a voice of reason, a reminder that life doesn't have to be a constant struggle. In a chaotic world, they become the lighthouse, quiet, constant, and essential. You'll often find them quietly shaping their communities, mentoring younger colleagues, raising emotionally intelligent children, or supporting causes that matter deeply to them. They're not showy about their influence, but it's always there. They're the ones who bring order to disorganized projects, who build bridges between difficult personalities, who organize the fundraiser when no one else volunteers. They mentor not with ego, but with wisdom. They parent with intentionality. They donate, organize, volunteer, not to feel good about themselves, but because they can't imagine not helping. Even when no one's watching, they keep showing up. They know that real leadership is found in consistency, not applause. Their life path is about emotional mastery and legacy building. They're here to learn that being vulnerable doesn't make you weak, and that love, in all its messy, complex forms, is always worth the risk. At their highest level of growth, the Cancer ox transforms from the quiet protector into the emotionally empowered guide. They stop hiding their feelings behind structure and begin using their emotional insight to connect, lead, and teach. They learn that their softness is strength, not a flaw, and they finally understand that while legacy may be built through effort, it's sustained through love. When a Cancer ox fulfills their purpose, they don't just build a life, they build a foundation for others to thrive on. And that, more than anything else, is what they came here to do. So, if you're a Cancer born in the year of the ox, know this: your blend of emotion and strength is rare. You carry the quiet kind of power, the type that doesn't demand attention, but earns deep respect. You're not loud, you're anchored. You don't rush, you endure. In a world obsessed with speed, flash, and noise, your steady, soulful presence is a gift. You're someone who can be both the soft shoulder and the solid wall. You bring heart and structure, intuition and discipline, love and logic, all in one breath. That combination is almost mythical, and those who experience it firsthand rarely forget it. You are, quite literally, made to be the calm in someone else's storm. You're the gentle force the world needs more of. You don't bulldoze your way into rooms, you hold the door open for others. You're the one who sees pain before it's spoken, who senses tension no one else has picked up on, who gives without announcing it. You mend what's broken, nurture what's overlooked, and hold space for emotions most people run from. You bring care into systems, soul into structure, and meaning into moments. You move through life not to conquer it, but to heal it, piece by piece, person by person. That might not be what society markets as heroic, but make no mistake, it's exactly the kind of heroism the world runs on. The one who listens, who builds, who loves with quiet intensity. You don't throw words around lightly. You don't make promises you can't keep. Your loyalty isn't casual, it's rooted. When you say you care, you mean it with every cell in your body. You are the type who stays up late making sure someone else is okay. Who remembers the little things, the favorite songs, the stories, the sensitive spots, because to you, love lives in the details. You don't need fireworks to feel passion. You don't need loud declarations to feel connected. You need honesty, trust, depth, and when you find it, your love becomes unstoppable. You might not always get the spotlight, but you are the foundation that keeps everything standing. You're not the person people write headlines about, you're the person holding the whole building up while they do. You're the reason the team finishes on time, the family holds together, the business grows in the right direction. People may not always see the full extent of what you do, but they feel it. Your presence stabilizes everything around you. You don't crave recognition, you crave impact. And you leave that impact quietly, like footprints in wet cement, permanent even when the surface looks smooth. You are the keeper of emotional infrastructure, the unshakable one when others are falling apart, the safe harbor, the grounding force, the person who makes a house feel like home and a relationship feel like trust. You're not here to chase fame, you're here to make people feel seen. You restore what's fractured, organize what's scattered, and protect what's sacred. Your strength isn't just about pushing through, it's about knowing when to stay, when to hold on, and when to walk away without ever losing your dignity. That's not weakness, that's wisdom, and you've earned every bit of it. You love with the kind of intensity most people never learn to handle. Not with drama, but with depth. You don't just commit, you root. You grow into someone's life like a tree into soil, feeding them, shading them, supporting them through every season. And if you're ever cut down, it takes decades to replace what you offered. Your love doesn't come with conditions, it comes with quiet resilience. It bends, but it doesn't break. And when it's finally reciprocated the way it deserves, you become unstoppable. A love like yours builds legacies. And if you know someone like this, treasure them, because once they let you in, they'll never let you fall. They won't say it every day. They may not write poems or serenade you at the airport, but they'll notice when you're tired. They'll ask how you really are. They'll sit beside you in silence just so you don't feel alone. They'll show up, again and again, even when they're tired, even when they're hurting, even when no one else does. And they'll hold you with a kind of loyalty the world forgot existed. If you're lucky enough to be loved by a Cancer ox, know this: you're being loved by someone rare, someone real, someone who won't just catch you when you fall, they'll rebuild you piece by piece if they have to. Enjoyed this story? Drop a like, subscribe for more character deep dives, and check out other videos exploring astrology, personality, and cosmic psychology. Plus, hit the links in the description for more insights, updates, and behind-the-scenes content. See you in the next one.